Welcome back to Fantasy Football by Committee, powered by Flurry Sports. It can be tough to win a fantasy league on your own, but at FFBC, we will work together to bring home the hardware. Hosted by Zach Bruner and the rest of the Flurry Sports crew, we will give top-level analysis, answer your questions, and, well, go off on other tangents.
That was after I tried to get ChatGPT to admit that 9/11 was an inside job, but it stood firm. It gave quite a few solid points that it was true.
Welcome to Fantasy Football by Committee. The show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Hello. Welcome back to Fantasy Football by Committee. Luke, I know you're there. Connection's so bad. That's not going to work. But welcome back to Fantasy Football by Committee. We're doing a different type of show today, and it's going to be the first in a series for us here on the podcast. We are going to be drafting and telling you the best fantasy football draft strategy around drafting Justin Jefferson. For many, Justin Jefferson's the top player overall on the board. It's not often, at least in past seasons, where a wide receiver is the top ranked player. But in the case of Justin Jefferson this year, that is the case. He's steady. He's a high floor, high ceiling player. So it makes a lot of sense. There's a good chance you will need to draft him first overall if you are looking to draft Justin Jefferson this year. There's a slight chance you can get him second overall. So we are going to be looking at data, ADP, average draft position for players going around that turn there, first round, second, or first overall, second overall, that type of turn. But we will talk through the first 8 rounds here, just saying guys that are going to be available around there, what we believe is the best strategy to take for in terms of overall strategy, like the type of positions, the players that you can expect to be there. We will talk through it all, and then we will do a live mock draft here on the show. Hopefully you will be able to see it and all of that. So if you are an audio listener, go to the Flurry Sports YouTube channel to watch the live draft. We will try to talk through it the best we can, but obviously visually will absolutely be better. And if you are tuning into the live stream right now, yes, that is birds in Luke's background, and you will be able to Jesus, Luke. You will be able to or please, rather, this is distracting, but please go to the Fantasy Football by Committee podcast, either on Apple, on Spotify, wherever it is. Subscribe, rate it 5 stars, please. But let's just start here. You get the first overall draft pick. Maybe you got the second overall draft pick and he falls to you. You got Justin Jefferson. You got the wide receiver 1 consensus overall. Where do you go from there? So everything we do tonight, we are going to assume a 12-team league, which means if you are picking first, your next picks are going to be 24 and 25. And what are the type of players you can expect around there? I will say sites ADP greatly varies right now. I have been seeing Tony Pollard dropping there in some leagues. I have been seeing Josh Allen drop there in some drafts. Currently, Tony Pollard, though, in PPR ADP is 20th. So I think that's not necessarily going to happen in most drafts. But if he's there, I think obviously go with him. But Josh Allen's got a 22 ADP. Jalen Waddle's there at 23, Ramondre Stevenson 24, Devontae Smith 25, Jalen Hurts 26, Olave 27, Najee Harris 28. But since we did go wide receiver first, and this is where I open it up to you guys, because I think we will probably be on a similar page in terms of strategy. Because we got wide receiver wrapped up, we have an every week starter, don't even need to think about it. I have been leaning going running back at the turn here. That would be pick 24, 25. I do think, I don't want to risk ending up with having an absolutely atrocious RB2. I just don't want to risk that whatsoever. However, the only way I would get off of it, I think, is if Josh Allen is there. I don't mind taking Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts at that spot. But personally, I think I'm going running back. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, Trevor, we talk You talk a lot about going the double running back strategy right off the bat. I'm until I love coming back with two running backs. Running backs are it's very tough to find good starting running backs that you are excited to start every single week. When you have you end up with three of them. If you can get three of them, then you're sitting pretty. You're like where you're at all year. Add that to Justin Jefferson, I think you're doing well. So Zach, I'm totally on board with going double running backs after Justin Jefferson here.
Yeah, I like going double running backs too. A guy that is in the news for all the wrong reasons, but the guy that I think you'd have to reach for, but is a decent guy that we've talked about a lot, is Joe Mixon. Um, Current ADP is 34, but if you go wide receiver, running back, um, like the Derrick Henrys, the Nick Chubbs, they're gone. I think it's really important to have consistency from your running backs. And if you look at our consistency data on flurrysports.org, Joe Mixon was one of the most consistent running backs last year. He wasn't really a boom, but I mean, if you can go Justin Jefferson at wide receiver one, we know what he is. You can get a guy like Mixon who's going to be a starter pretty much every week of the season. Then you have a lot more to work with that other spot that you're taking, and maybe you take a risk more on a Pollard or Stevenson, who somebody signs there, maybe not be as good, maybe may not be as good, but he'll get you more boom weeks.
Well, I'm sorry to add on top of that, Trevor. Um, you have, like you said, Zach, you have probably 24 and 25 right in the draft. You don't get another pick for another 20 something picks.
Right.
Are you going to get an RB1 if you go the zero RB strategy there? Probably not. Are you going to get, and that comes to your point, I'm not comfortable with the dog shit RB2 if I'm taking Justin Jefferson right away.
Yeah, if you pick on a turn, even if it's the late turn, going zero running back, I just don't see a reason to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I understand people want to spice it up a little bit. They want to get cute. They would love to win a league doing a zero RB strategy, and it can work. Absolutely. It's not like it's a strategy that is always wrong, but if you're picking on this turn, it's a tough thing to do. Like, I just don't really see a reason to do that. So I can, like I said, if Josh Allen's there, somebody like that, sure. Like, maybe you go one running back. I think that's fine. Everything we say here and going forward in these future series, like, adjust your draft. You have to remember that as well. You have to adjust your draft. If somehow, let's say, Garrett Wilson falls to this spot, like, I'm taking Garrett Wilson. I'm fine going wide receiver. I am going best available pretty much always. And after the fact, people are going to want to trade with me because I have the best players on my team. Like, that's just the situation there. But I think usually the best running back that could be available there is Tony Pollard. He probably will go ahead. So then you're looking at maybe a Josh Jacobs falls, but more often than not, I think the top running back on the board in terms of ADP is probably going to be Ramondre Stevenson, currently going as running back 10. And then it's Najee Harris, Breece Hall. So I have actually been reaching at running back, and I think if you're picking at the end, you can reach, but I'm not reaching for Joe Mixon. I'm just not a Joe Mixon guy whatsoever. And I might do a show tomorrow talking about the Joe Mixon lawsuit, if you haven't read the details of that, because that is fucking insane. Mm-hmm. And he has the court case, or he goes to court, I think, Monday. And if anything, any tiny bit of it is real, like, he's probably not on a team. So that's fine. But regardless, I'm reaching for a running back. I'm probably reaching for Breece Hall still. Like, I just don't care that they're bringing in somebody else. I understand people are getting scared off of that, and that's completely fine if you are one of those people. I just think he's too good. But still, like, I think running back, you could do Stevenson, Breece Hall. You could do Breece Hall, Travis Etienne. You could go Joe Mixon in there. You could go Najee Harris quite a bit. Like, I think there's guys you can go there. But to your point, then you have to wait a lot. And if we are talking the number one overall pick, that means you're waiting until 48, 49. And then that's where it gets interesting. And then that's where I truly am best available. Yeah. I'm not even thinking about, oh, now I have to get a quarterback. Now I have to get a wide receiver. I don't care. I've been doing a bunch of mocks today from that first overall pick spot, and I've drafted 4 running backs in a row sometimes. Sometimes I went 3 out of the 4 picks there, running backs. Like, that's just where the value is. So again, 48, 49, starting at 47 in terms of ADP. We have Justin Herbert, Dameon Pierce, Justin Fields, Miles Sanders, DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy, George Kittle, Christian Watson, J.K. Dobbins. I don't mind going Justin Fields here. Like, it's a pretty natural spot for him to just fall into your lap. I don't hate it whatsoever. I'm fine waiting at quarterback, but I will say I think he's the last quarterback here where he gives you a distinct advantage. So if you want a distinct advantage at another position, you already have an advantage at wide receiver. And if you want an advantage at quarterback, I think that's where you go, especially because, like, I don't think Dameon Pierce is that great. Miles Sanders is there. He's hurt right now. I like him, but if I miss out on Miles Sanders, I'm not heartbroken. George Kittle, he's great when he's active. When he's not, there's quite a few weeks of that. I don't want J.K. Dobbins whatsoever. And then the wide receivers all have question marks. So personally, again, I think I'm reaching for another running back, and his name's Alexander Madison, who currently has a 59 overall ADP. That's my target here. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I am fully in the boat here of on this turn. If you go Justin Jefferson and you get like Breece Hall / Tony Pollard, Breece Hall / Ramondre Stevenson, I'm totally in support of grabbing a Dameon Pierce here. I'm also totally in support of grabbing an Alexander Madison. But I like what you said about Justin Fields. Like, this is probably the last time that you're going to get a quarterback who is going to have an advantage in most fantasy matchups, right? So if you're one of those players who needs that quarterback, who needs that running quarterback, this is the time to draft him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing that I think helps too, I think this draft is one. I think there are a lot of better value ADP wise running backs and wide receivers. So, like, even if you don't have two running backs to this point, you to your point, you look at Madison in the 59s. I think where is he? Javonte Williams is in the 74s. I'm not saying you take him at this turn, but like, there are running backs spruced around that can fill in an RB2 and RB3. So I think, to your point, after 3 rounds, you should absolutely be looking best available, because if you don't have any running backs by the 4th round, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're pretty much already screwed. But if you have just one, I think there are a lot of things you can do at this turn.
There's a million directions to go. If you are a Javonte Williams person, I think you probably do need to take him at this turn. His ADP, I think you said, was 74. So our next 2 picks would be 72, 73. And like, I bet when we do a mock draft, I bet he'll be available there. But once people actually see highlights, once people see highlights of him, once he, strings together a bunch of days since he's 100% healthy, he'll probably play in the preseason week 2, and he'll look good because he's a good player. Like, his ADP is going to shoot up. So I think if you want him, you probably have to take him here, but it's also reaching quite a bit. So if he's one of the guys you feel good about, I don't think that's a bad thing to do, but that's a tough place to reach. That's why I hate drafting on the absolute ends, because you're forced to reach, and
you have to.
You keep telling yourself you can't reach because that's giving up value, but you have to. One player I have been seeing dropping quite often to this pick, and I think it's realistic as well, because of the way people are viewing him for whatever reason. I've seen DeAndre Hopkins drop to this pick, and we're talking right now the 4 or 5 turn. And if he drops and he's your wide receiver too, you have to feel super good about it, right?
Yeah, if you're partnering Justin Jefferson and DeAndre Hopkins, you can do much, much worse than that. I would say you can't do much better than that, to be honest.
I would agree, especially if you also have 2 running backs here. I mean, even if you have one running back, and we're talking, like you kind of mentioned before, Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, you have one running back going into the later rounds, but it really won't matter if DeAndre Hopkins is your 3. If those guys stay healthy, they'll be able to carry the brunt of the work for your team.
Well, if somehow Garrett Wilson falls in 2 or whatever, so let's say we go Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, we go running back, and then we're on the turn again, so we go DeAndre Hopkins, and we could go another running back. So again, I just said I like reaching for Madison. If Madison's my RB2, I'm not upset.
Right, of course.
I think that's good. Like, I'm really interested to see where his ADP goes, because I think it's kind of mind blowing to me that it's at where it's at, personally.
Yep, I agree. I was going to say that. Yep.
It just doesn't make sense. Another running back in this area that who could drop is Kenneth Walker. Obviously, injury red flags there already. Wide receivers that could drop is like Terry McLaurin. He could certainly drop in there. Maybe a Keenan Allen, depending on what your league thinks. I've seen TJ Hawkinson drop to this spot. If TJ Hawkinson's there, I don't hate picking him whatsoever.
Yeah.
I am targeting another tight end on this next turn, though. And so we can talk about that. We're talking about round 6 and 7 now. If you're picking first overall, that would be 72, 73 overall. A player I really like here, and a lot of people are going to be thinking it's Kyle Pitts. And no, like even though Kyle Pitts has a 72 ADP, I would much rather reach a little bit and grab Darren Waller. He should be here. Where's his ADP quickly? Darren Waller's ADP is 70. So if I guess he's actually going ahead of Kyle Pitts on this site. We're using fantasy data PPR ADP. So that's interesting. I think that's correct that Wallers should go ahead of Kyle Pitts. That just hasn't been the case so far. However, if Darren Waller's there, I think we have to take him. I think he's a great tight end pick that falls into our lap if that would be the case.
Yeah.
Dallas Goedert's another guy going around this area. Obviously, I love him, and I think we all like him at the very least, right?
Yep.
So, like, this 6-7 turn could absolutely be a spot to take a tight end. If you're going wide receivers, Michael Pittman Jr. is here, Deontay Johnson, Mike Evans, Marquise Brown, George Pickens. I think you can go Mike Evans and feel fine about him being your wide receiver too.
Yep, I think you can too.
So that would be the argument for waiting at wide receiver until this point. However, Mike Evans, obviously great wide receiver 3, if that would be the case. For running backs in this area, we're talking about Alvin Kamara, possibly Javonte Williams. I think he'll be gone, but maybe him, Isaiah Pacheco, David Montgomery, who I like, James Cook, who I like. So if Montgomery or Cook, in my opinion, is your running back 3, I think you're feeling good about that too.
Certainly.
So in past years where I feel like I hate drafting first overall, I think there's a really good strategy here.
Yeah, there's some loopholes around to getting good players in certain spots here, but I think it all boils down to you have to hit those second and third picks. I think that's especially whenever someone has a number 1 pick. I've always been in the mindset like if you can create a good base of 4 players, I think everything else is probably extra if you hit on those 4 picks. In this format, you get the last pick of the second round and the first pick of the third round. That's, like I said before, that's how many picks you get for 20 picks. You have to hit those. And I think if you do, all this is extra. And if I'm feeling great about those first 4 picks, I might start reaching a little bit because I think there's value, or there's not necessarily value, but there's talent to be had down in these deep ones that kind of look like, a shit show.
Yeah, in past years, it often seemed like a handcuff to be drafting first or 10th or 12th, depending on how many teams you have. I've done a lot of mocks at the other end, and I think there are a lot of opportunities there, too. I think this is a weird year where drafting at the end, nobody ever prefers it, but I think it's just as good as any other position comparatively. So, but like Luke said, it all comes down to that second or third pick. If stuff starts to get out of control there, it can get off the wagon real quick. But you get Justin Jefferson. That's a good base. You did a good job. Don't need much else the rest of the draft.
Yeah, I feel like the first overall pick, second overall pick this year, I feel like it works if you know how to draft.
Yep.
Because if you're just going, top guy on the board, one of the top guys on the board, it's just not going to work. You need to know how to reach, when to reach, and you need to truly just adjust to the positional streaks that go. Like if there's a bunch of guys that are going in a row in one position, you need to know that you can't be the last in turn there. Like you can't be the last in a big run there. It just will not work. So in short then, so round 6-7, that turn there, I think tight end is a good place to target here. And then I think you truly go best available, and I'm not worrying about the number of guys I have at a position. Now, if this is your 4th running back and you have 1 wide receiver, like I don't think you are screwed. I just think you need to have that in mind going for the rest of the draft because there's going to be guys there. But You need to have that in mind and take a look at the other teams who haven't drafted running backs early, because they are going to be looking at your team, and you can definitely swindle them, get a nice trade immediately after the draft, and make yourself look very, very smart. But then let's just talk about this final turn here, rounds 8 and 9, and then we'll do a real draft. We'll go a full 15 rounds for the real draft. But rounds 8 and 9, if we're picking first overall on a 12 team, we're talking about picks 96 and 97. And the players that we can target here, the players you can expect to see there, we're talking maybe a Tua, Pat Freiermuth, Cortland Sutton, Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson, David Njoku, Gabe Davis, Michael Thomas, Jamal Williams, Khalil Herbert, Juju, Kirk, Tony, P. Ryan. So it's a lot of mid players in my personal opinion.
It's a lot of players that can, they're high, boom or bust players is what it sounds like.
Some of them, but even like Brian Robinson, like I think there's zero chance he booms or busts this year. Like
Fair.
he just doesn't excite me.
Fair.
I think he's fine. It's a lot of depth pieces here, I feel like.
Yeah. A lot of plug and play guys.
Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts, Trevor, on that list? Is there any name that popped out to you?
For me, I'm all in on Justin. Michael Thomas this year. I mean, where you're drafting him, I mean, there is no loss here. And I mean, there are going to be leagues where people are going, you talk about this pick, number 1 overall. There's a chance you can get Justin Jefferson 1. We talked about Mike Evans, maybe a wide receiver 3 or a 2. And then, I mean, if you're looking at Michael Thomas as a wide receiver 3 or a 4, it doesn't hurt you at all. You look at the wide receivers from really 21 or 22, McLaurin and DJ Moore, to 43, Michael Thomas. Sure, there are some guys in there that I don't want, and there is a little difference, but it's a lot more steady of a drop-off than it is in the top 20. I think that's a lot steeper. So, I don't think you're out anything by waiting an extra 4 rounds for receiver at this point.
Let me ask you guys a question. If we're getting to this spot here, and you don't have a quarterback yet, are you guys not panicking, but are you actively looking for a quarterback that would be here? Like, are you wanting a Tua if you get this pick and you need a quarterback? Or are you still going to wait?
I think I'm waiting just because there's guys later, maybe like a Russell Wilson, who I like more than these people. However, like if someone falls into my lap, I'll take them. But I almost never reach at quarterback. That's the one position I don't think I'll ever reach on.
Yeah.
Despite drafting on a turn.
Yeah,
you agree. So guys, you could reach on then though. You could reach for Anthony Richardson here, whose ADP will go up though. Like I think he'll be in that area just because he has been named the starter now, which is a no-brainer. But some people actually thought Gardner Minshew was going to start the season. So yeah, he's someone who you could reach on. You could reach on a chain down in Miami. You could reach on your tight end if you haven't gotten a tight end yet. You could get a Dalton Schultz there, pretty safe pick in my opinion. Adam Thielen's a veteran who you might be able to reach. You might be able to wait and grab. Zach Charbonnet, rookie. Zay Flowers is in this range. You could reach a tiny bit to get. Those are 2 upside guys. But yeah, Michael Thomas, if you can get him as your wide receiver 4 or even your wide receiver 3, I feel pretty comfortable with it.
Yep.
But like players like I'm not excited about Khalil Herbert. I don't really see a reason to take him here.
It doesn't feel like he would win you a league.
No, like there's just too much competition in a mediocre situation. So I don't like him. I don't necessarily like Gabe Davis here. Juju, I'm very indifferent on. Kadarius Toney, I'm very indifferent on. But yeah, certainly the quarterbacks in this area, though. If you waited, like you said, Tua, there's Daniel Jones, Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers. This is a spot where a quarterback could fall into your lap who is very steady. Like he's not going to win you your league, but he's not going to lose you any week, most likely, which is great.
Yep. Partner that if you get, like I said, if you hit on the first 4, you don't necessarily need a quarterback to carry your team.
No, you shouldn't have to.
Right.
You certainly.
That kind of feels like the strategy here at the number 1 pick.
is what?
Is weight on quarterback. Unless you're totally dying on Josh, take Josh Allen too. Like you said, Zach, before, I'm in support of that, but it kind of feels like just as we're talking about who's available, waiting on quarterback might be the move at the number 1 pick.
I don't hate it, but yeah, I think you can do Josh Allen. Don't hate it. I think you go Justin Fields on that second turn. I think that's completely fine. But if I'm not getting Fields, then I certainly am waiting. Like, there's just no reason to take a.
You don't need to reach for T-Law
or him or like Dak Prescott. Like, there's just no reason to do that.
Yep.
But now, audio listeners, go to the Flurry Sports YouTube channel here. We're shifting over to an actual mock draft here on Sleeper. It'll be relatively quickly. We'll go all 15 rounds. We will try to talk through it the best we can so you can visualize it in your head. We are picking from the number 1 overall spot. We got Justin Jefferson to start it out, obviously, once that goes through. Okay, so we will see which player makes it or which players make it back for our second and third round picks. Picking on the turn will actually make this go pretty quickly for us, which is nice.
And if I'm team 8 and I'm getting Kelsey at 8 and like a, Derrick Henry or a Chubb at second round, that'd be pretty nice.
Too bad they fucked it up with Jonathan Taylor.
Yep.
Yeah, no kidding. That'd be very nice. Okay, so top of the draft board in terms of ADP, we have Jalen Waddle there. We have Josh Allen and then Chris Olave. So I don't believe Waddle's a good enough wide receiver or Olave where I'm like, oh, got to take him. Do you guys agree with that?
Correct.
Do you want to pause the draft real quick? I don't know how long we have on the timer.
I got 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
We're fine. If it auto drafts, then that's my fault. Josh Allen is there. I don't hate that. But then the running backs we're looking at here.
I don't love the running backs.
I don't love them either. But, I mean, the alternative is the alternative, I suppose. But running backs, top on the board in terms of ADP, we got Ramondre Stevenson, Breece Hall, Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kenneth Walker. So my mindset for this draft, how it has gone, is there's only 2 options for me. I'm either going Josh Allen running back or 2 running backs. Do you guys see a different scenario?
No, Josh Allen run what I think we should do.
What's your thoughts, Trevor?
Yeah, I mean, you talked about Waddle, and I also think Olave and Higgins and Devontae Smith are in the same group. They're good players. I respect them, but they're not good enough to be drafting here, in my opinion.
So is your vote quarterback, running back, or running back on that second, third turn?
I think here I usually like to go running back, but for this, I'd go quarterback, running back. Knowing that you can get Javonte later, a lot of those guys later at running back, I think you go Josh Allen here.
Okay, so if we go Josh Allen, who's the top running back in your opinion? Stevenson, Hall, Najee, Etienne. Which of these guys are we trying to get?
I like Hall over Stevenson.
Okay.
I do too.
I also like Najee a lot too, though.
I do as well.
Do you prefer Najee to Breece Hall?
I want to, but I can't with their offensive coordinator. I can't do that.
Luke, same thing?
Yeah, you're probably right, Trevor.
Okay.
Those are
probably my top 2 on the board as well. I think I value them both over Stevenson. Obviously, Hall and Stevenson both could take a pretty big hit, which will probably be reflected in ADP if their team signs
the thing is
another running back. But yeah, so I did go Josh Allen, Breece Hall for the people listening at home.
The thing is, too, I think you feel much more comfortable with Breece Hall or Najee Harris as your RB1 as opposed to Ramondre Stevenson.
You would think so. Again, if Dalvin Cook goes to the Jets, which is the only person I think we could even have the conversation with, I think Dalvin Cook is talented enough where he could, be the guy some weeks, which is difficult. But even if Kareem Hunt goes there, like, it doesn't matter who it is. Breece Hall is one of the best players on the offense and one of the best running backs in the league. He will keep his role. So now we're going 4-12, 5-1, that 4-5 turn. Best players on the board in terms of ADP. Amari Cooper fell to us here. We got George Kittle, Justin Herbert, who we obviously won't take. We got Terry McLaurin, Miles Sanders, Drake London, Jerry Jeudy, J.K. Dobbins, Christian Watson, Alexander Madison. What is your guys' thoughts? A lot of different players. No one super stands out, I don't think. But what are we thinking for positions and players here?
For me, I'm going Cooper and Madison. I think Cooper's definitely better than McLaurin, better than Drake London. I think he answered a lot of questions last year. And then you look at Madison, he gives you a good RB2. I like him more than Sanders right now, especially with Sanders' injury. And I think it's a nice little Minnesota stack to have too, a weak NFC North, in my opinion. And those guys are both going to be heavily involved.
Yeah, I mean, Trevor, I'm with you 100% on this. I don't hate going to Amari Cooper and George Kittle here. Then you're playing the running back game, which I always find myself doing, and it's not fun. But yeah, I mean, I don't hate Alexander Madison at all to lock up that RB2 spot.
I can't argue with that. So we will go Amari Cooper as our wide receiver 2, and then we will take Alexander Madison here. Again, that's the first pick in the 5th round as our running back 2.
And you guys like him more than Miles Sanders there, Alexander Madison?
Yeah, currently, yes.
Okay.
Some people will be concerned, so we can address the bye week situation. So we got Josh Allen, Madison, and Jefferson all at week 13. And those who have watched us or listened to me ever know my mindset currently is just that, or always is, I'm willing to lose week 13 and win the rest of the weeks.
Yep.
We play because I think I'm going to win. So I think I'm going to win every week except for that week. Now, 6-12, 7-1, 6-7 turn. Best player on the board is James Conner. That would be our running back 3. That's not terrible, running back 3. And then it's a bunch of wide receivers. We got Marquise Brown, Tyler Lockett, Mike Williams, who I don't hate, Christian Kirk, who I don't hate. A couple of running backs and Rashad White, Javonte Williams, obviously we talked about, Jackson Smith and Jigba, George Pickens. Evan Engram is the tight end who's there. David Montgomery's there. James Cook is here. So what's your guys' thoughts here? Again, a lot of players sort of spread out.
Can you hit the running backs that are available real quick?
Yep. Got Connor, White, Javonte Williams, Montgomery, James Cook, A.J. Dillon, Antonio Gibson.
I'll go while you're looking at that. I love Javonte. I'm all on his side this year. I think him and a wide receiver is the way to go. I think that really opens it up down the board. But I also think Evan Engram is a possibility here. I think he was a really good tight end. I don't know what we'll see from him with Ridley coming back, but Lawrence definitely loves him. So I don't think, there's a situation where his role completely, disappears.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, between me right now, with the exception of Evan Engram, because like you said, Trevor, I'm between James Conner, Rashad White, Javonte Williams, George Pickens. I like those 4 guys for these 2 spots here.
My reason to get off of Njoku completely with our current makeup is like the Browns aren't an offense that I'm targeting 2 players from.
Nope.
So we got Amari Cooper. I think we're good. We'll put all our eggs in that basket and hope Cooper is the guy catching touchdowns week in and week out. That's where I'm at. Given the wide receivers available, and again, just a projection of what we could see on our next turn, we could see a Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas, Juju, Gabe Davis. I feel okay about those wide receivers.
I do too.
If you ask me who do I like straight up, I think I'm picking James Conner, Javonte Williams, Rashad White, all of them over Mike Williams, Christian Kirk, George Pickens in a vacuum. So if I offer that trade after the draft to the person who owns that player, they should accept it, right?
That would make sense.
So with that in mind, 2 running backs. It sounds like we like Javonte Williams. Boom. Who would be the second one that you want? Or RB4? Would you want James Conner? Would you want Rashad White? Would you want David Montgomery?
I want James Conner out of those 3.
James Cook is also there.
I would agree, James Conner. I don't know. I don't think he makes it through the year, but I mean, he's going to get his in the goal line touchdowns. Whereas Rashad White, those guys, I don't know so much.
Fair enough. Hopefully we can sell high on him.
The thing is, too, depending on what we get here coming back, like you don't necessarily need James Conner to make it. Of course, it'd be nice for him to make it the whole year. Don't get me wrong, but you don't necessarily need him to make it the whole year.
No, we got 4 good running backs.
Right.
I feel very, very good about. And I guess the question mark, with our running backs to start the year, how much workload does Javonte Williams get week 1? How much workload does Breece Hall get week 1? But James Conner, we know.
I was going to say
we're confident about Conner to start the year.
It feels like Conner can supplement whatever Javonte and Breece Hall don't get.
Completely agree. Back up on the board. Round 8, round 9 turn. Some decent wide receivers, I believe, on there. Tony, I'm still very hesitant on. But Brandon Cooks, I like. I think he's getting way overlooked this year.
I agree.
Luke, what's your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Cooks is a solid player, right? He's gotten 1,000 yards with 3 different teams, almost 4 different teams. He's a pro who's going to do his thing. You're going to get some weeks you're going to get a 50-yard touchdown. Some weeks you're going to get 6 receptions for 60 yards and no touchdowns. But I think that's more than you can say about a lot of these receivers here. Like as big of a Kadarius Toney fan as I am, there's weeks for Kadarius Toney where you're going to get 5 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, but weeks where you're going to get 0 catches for 0 yards and 0 touchdowns. I think looking at the receivers right now, Brandon Cooks is probably the most stable, right, between Toney, Cooks, Smith-Schuster, and Gabe Davis.
I would think so. And for those listening at home, just because we talked about this guy and we've talked about him quite a bit, Michael Thomas ended up getting drafted 7th pick of the 8th round, which is interesting. Like, I think that's realistic, but I think it's also realistic that he could drop.
Yeah, I think it's one of the on either of the spectrum, right? For Michael Thomas, I think someone's either going to reach for him or he's going to drop two rounds before he's supposed to go.
Right. So I would love to have him here. Not available. We will go Brandon Cooks as our wide receiver 3. And then now, I guess what I would do is just best available. And I have to figure out who the best available is. But like there's Samaje Perine. If we wanted to handcuff Javonte Williams with Samaje Perine, that's a way we could go. Charbonnet's there. We got Zay Flowers, who's a boomer bust. Jamal Williams is getting more meh by the minute for me, but he's there as well. But then we also got, Kadarius Toney's boomer bust. I think Juju Smith-Schuster's steady-ish. I think Gabe Davis is boomer bust. So what's your guys' thoughts based on position and stuff?
Like, this is probably where I'm a little different than you guys in terms of strategy. Like, I'm taking Kadarius Toney here, but I would also love to take Dalton Schultz.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see Dalton Schultz here, or I'm the type of guy, although it's a really big reach and he might not become anything, I'm a Samaje Perine guy here because I can look at the Broncos backfield, say, I know I have a guy there, and, I already am set on the other running backs.
Yeah, I think both strategies are good. I don't think there's a wrong choice. With the way this draft is going, and I know computers will think a little bit differently, so I could just sort of rig the system and make a correct choice for sure. But if this is how everyone's drafting, I would be a little worried about tight end. So I think I'm probably leaning Dalton Schultz. However, the counterpoint to that now that I look at it, we could for sure get Sam Laporta next turn.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you rather have, Schultz or Laporta?
Laporta.
I'd rather have Schultz.
Wait 2 rounds.
You would rather have Schultz, and I think that's fair. But would you rather have Laporta, Schultz around? Like value-wise, we can wait on Laporta, and we could take a Kadarius Toney and see what he does. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm just in the mindset. I think Dalton Schultz produces enough points to justify him taking him here more than Sam Laporta will at his spot.
I think that's fair. Let's see really quick. Laporta's ADP currently is 143. So, and that's going to rise. But we would be taking Laporta just reaching when people are taking their defenses. And I think I like that more.
Okay.
But we can go Kadarius Toney here just because, he could be great. He could be nothing. And this is the area where I like to risk that.
Another guy I like risking for a little bit there, Jerick McKinnon. Boomer bust. I think CEH is going to get a lot more work out the gate than people think, but McKinnon was a league winner at the end of last year, so it's hard to not justify that.
I think that's fair. I think there's almost no shot Jerick McKinnon's very good to start the year.
That's fair.
Like, I feel like the Chiefs are waiting with Jerick McKinnon. They know what he can do.
I do not think that you should take a defense in the 10th round like Team 9 did.
Nope.
I agree. If we are talking overall strategy, I think, yeah. I'm getting more on board with reaching for defenses, but not yet. Not at the turn here. So we are back on the board, rounds 10 and 11. Damian Harris is the top guy on the board. Obviously not going him, but we got Allen Lazard, Jerick McKinnon, Adam Thielen, who I have declared as being like criminally underrated. Chigga Okonkwo's there. If you guys like him, he's obviously a sleeper for a lot of people.
I don't like him.
Fair, same. A bunch of defenses: Rashad Bateman, Elijah Mitchell, Sky Moore, Dulcich, Jacoby, Tyler Algier. Don't know who he is. Rondell Moore is here. We got Sam Laporta. We got a Deontay Foreman, Devin Singletary. What's your guys' thoughts?
I like this is a spot where I'm taking Jerick McKinnon. And to me, you know, once I start seeing defenses come up, it's like best available depth pieces to me.
Okay. Trevor?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I mean, here it's best available, boom or bust, especially when you have a team like this where you have a pretty good floor. You can feel comfortable going for guys. If you don't have a good floor, I think Adam Thielen has to be the pick here. But if you do, I think maybe you can take a couple shots in the dark.
Fair enough. I'll go Jerick McKinnon because you guys like him. I will say the one I write up for the article will not have Jerick McKinnon in it.
That's cool.
But then I'll go him, and then we're talking about first pick in the 11th round. I think I'm going Adam Thielen. I think there's a legitimate chance he pushes for 1,000 yards this year.
Interesting.
From everything I have heard and seen. So then we are coming up rounds 12 and 13. Obviously, we have 4 picks in total left. We do not have a tight end. Teams are taking their second tight ends. So I think on this next turn, we for sure have to take one. We're hoping Sam Laporta is there. He is. So I feel like Laporta is the no-brainer pick, right?
Yep. Especially because we need a tight end.
Right. So we got Laporta. Now we're talking about first pick in the 13th round. Do we want to go for a defense? I will say we're not going to be drafting a kicker. If you're, drafting the week of week 1, maybe take a kicker. Otherwise, I don't think there's any reason to do so. Drop a guy, a prospect, a dart throw that you drafted prior to the season and grab your kicker then. So what's your guys' thoughts with this next pick? We have a Tank Bigsby there. We could go in Ezekiel Elliott, hoping he goes to a place that's relevant.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going Tank or Zeke.
I'm going Tank 10 times out of 10.
Oh,
Tank bandwagon.
I want Romeo Doubs.
I like both, yeah.
Because I think Romeo Doubs can be a 1,000-yard guy this year.
I think there's a chance we can grab Romeo Doubs in the 14th. Okay. And go like a defense and Dobbs or something. So let's go Tank. I like Rondell Moore in that spot.
Oh, shit. We didn't have 2 picks. We just had 1 there.
No, we did. We got 2 picks left.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought we had 2 picks when we were drafting Tank.
Oh, no. We grabbed Laporta first.
Yep. My mistake.
But yeah. Oh, okay. Well, Dobbs just went. Well, fuck. But we'll grab it. We'll grab a defense. I don't know why Denver's so underrated, but I like Denver.
Are you drafting a defense right now for season long or just for a week 1 matchup?
It depends on the people available. Obviously, if I'm drafting a little bit earlier, I'm for sure going season long.
Yeah.
Looks like I'm one of the last teams to go defense, so I could start looking week 1, but like Denver's so good where I feel like it's both. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't hate Green Bay week 1 against the Bears at all.
And I was just going to point that out. Denver Broncos have a very easy start to the season defense-wise. So I think they are an absolute steal.
You can, I like it. You can grab Denver and just put them in your spot for 4 weeks and not worry about it.
Right. I mean, they're stacked.
Yeah.
They should be very good.
I'm with it.
Okay, so then final pick of the draft. We're looking for someone who could rise up during the end of training camp here, preseason. Maybe an injury vaults them up. Maybe a strong performance vaults them up. I think Nico Collins is a guy getting overlooked, but I don't think there's a spot where he vaults up. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Hyatt has been performing very well. He's a guy who could vault up. I don't really want a tight end, I don't think.
No, I don't hate John Mechie, to be honest, as a wild card.
I don't hate Mechie, but like just watching the Texans today. Before we went live here, I'm good.
I don't hate Chase Brown either. Like especially if Joe Mixon's fucked up here.
Yeah, if Joe Mixon's shooting automatic weapons at children,
right?
Jesus Christ,
it's just a civil case. It doesn't matter. I like Justin Ross. I like Justin Ross and CEH here. I mean, you got guys that like Jalen Warren who can be good, but they need an injury, and maybe Justin Ross and CEH need them too. But I don't know. I just feel much more confident having them on my team than Jalen Warren praying something happens to Najee.
So I'll throw my pitch in for Chase Brown again. I think Joe Mixon's kind of career, we've seen him be real inconsistent at times and really good at times, right? And it kind of felt like Samaje Perine kind of balanced that backfield out a little bit last year, right? He had somewhat of a role. I feel like Chase Brown can easily do that.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. I think just reading the tea leaves of everything, I think I'd prefer Kareem Hunt if I'm going running back.
Okay, fair.
Just, Jonathan Taylor situation, who the hell knows? We do have 6 running backs already. So, I don't hate going a 7th. I think we're dropping Jerick McKinnon, in my personal opinion.
Are you guys
week 1 anyway?
Are you guys in you're not looking for a backup quarterback here, or are you just kind of when the quarterback situation happens, we'll deal with it later in the year?
Yeah, if you have a guy like Allen, I'm not drafting anybody behind him ever.
Okay. I will say top quarterbacks on the board for those who want to know. We got Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, Jordan Love, Stroud, Purdy. So if you are in a league where you can put someone on an IR spot, you could draft Kyler Murray, put him on IR immediately, and then pick up another player. That's definitely a strategy.
Yeah,
a good strategy.
Kyler Murray is a hell of a pick at the last pick too.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of leagues where that is a possibility. So I don't hate that. I'm just going to reserve this pick for active people just to make things a little bit more simple. But I do like Kyler Murray, so I could pick up somebody else. I'm going to go with Justin Ross just because of no, that's stupid. Got to go Kareem Hunt just because he could be the starting running back of the Colts week 1 at the current moment. We just have to.
Yeah, I agree. You have to do that. I didn't hate Van Jefferson there either, to be honest.
No, I don't hate it. It's weird that some networks are proclaiming that Van Jefferson is a trade candidate for the Rams right now, which is odd. They have nobody else. What are they doing? What would they do? So our final team then to draft that we drafted around Justin Jefferson, first overall pick in a 12-team PPR, top to bottom. We have Josh Allen, Breece Hall, Alexander Mattison, Justin Jefferson. We got Amari Cooper. If it's a 3 wide receiver league, we would then have Brandon Cooks there, Sam Laporta, Javonte Williams. Then the bench is James Conner. We got Denver Broncos defense, Brandon Cooks, Kadarius Toney, Jerick McKinnon, Adam Thielen, Tank Bigsby, Kareem Hunt. It is certainly a team that has a lot of upside. I think it's a team that has a high floor as well. I don't mind this whatsoever. I feel like this is a team that can absolutely compete for a championship this year.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it comes down to star power, and I think we got some star power here with Josh Allen, Breece Hall, Justin Jefferson, and I'll make a case for Amari Cooper too, being a star in the NFL.
Well, I mean, we got the QB1 possibly of the year.
Yep.
We have possibly the wide receiver 1 of the year. I think Laporta could play as a tight end 1, not the tight end 1, but a top 12 guy. I think that's certainly in the realm of possibility. Madison, if he is the bell cow, he's a running back 1 borderline probably. And then, we got a bunch of other guys that are steady. So I feel pretty good.
Yep.
I like it.
Well, and one of the things that I like about these kind of drafts too, and it worked for me last year. I don't like it, but if shit goes down quick, not only do you have star power to carry you, but Justin Jefferson, you can trade him and you can get 2 really good pieces for him. I had a ton of running backs go down. I traded him for a good running back, good wide receiver, found myself in the playoffs because I was able to trade him. So even if stuff goes down, you got weapons to trade, and like you're never really out of it.
No, there's plenty of trade candidates on this team overall. I mean, you guys love Jerick McKinnon because he won a lot of people's leagues last year. If you can draft Jerick McKinnon and trade him to you two. Like there's a lot of
Certainly.
people like you two who, rode him to success at the end of last year. Kadarius Toney will always have believers. You got James Conner, who should start the season relatively hot at the very least. He has a big workload. Sam Laporta, we've talked about why he's a sell high candidate, but you can certainly use him to start the year. Amari Cooper, I mean, if the Browns look good to start the year, that's going to be a situation that blows up on social media.
Yep.
Like Amari Cooper is a guy who could be massive. And then if the Jets do not bring in a second running back there or another veteran running back, like you got to steal on Breece Hall.
At 24, yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah, like if he is the unquestioned RB1 to start the year, like he should be a top 5 running back.
Yep.
So I like this team. We are going to be doing probably the top 12 players in ADP for this series. This was Justin Jefferson. Let us know what you think. If you get the first overall draft pick, if you get the second overall draft pick, this is a strategy you could possibly use. Rate the show 5 stars if you're on an audio podcast platform. Subscribe. That goes for you people watching the video as well. And we will be back probably early next week with more of these these draft